sometime since 2000. We've only been close to that in 2006. Our place right now is, you know, we're in that 34,000, and next year we'll go past. We'll go past 3 times AML, which is 38,000. Again, when you look at removals in this state, 2014, you know, there were basically no removals. They were doing it for public safety and herd health. So if there was any situation where horses were posing a public safety risk, most of that was burros that were crossing around fields, and they were removing those. But if you look at the historic adoption rate in Nevada, nationwide, yeah, they adopt out, you know, a few thousand, but if you look at Nevada, we have always adopted out a very low number. I think one of the highest is 124 in there. So despite having the highest population, we have one of the lowest adoption rates. So looking at the information, I do have, and I can supply a copy of all of the HMA and herd area breakdowns, but 27 HMAs in this state are 100 to 200% AML, 11 are 2 to 300, 4 are 3 to 400, and 22 are 400% to 1200% AML, or not 1200, but 2100. So within AML, there's 8 within HMAs and herd areas, which aren't supposed to have, they aren't managed for horses. There's 28 with horses. So, again.
Sorry, can I just, like I said, I'm assuming HMAs are management areas, but then AMLs are
Appropriate management levels.
okay.
Yeah, so they set a higher and a lower limit for AMLs. One of the most significant examples is, and it's not even small numbers, and it's a rather large place, is Spruce Pequot herd out near Spruce Mountain. We're actually doing a lot of investment of funds to try to improve conditions, doing PJ work for mule deer and winter elk for winter range. That herd out there right now is 1,245% over, and that's the high AML in there is 82, and the low AML is 49. The population estimate in there is 1,021. So these are the type of numbers, and it's, you start talking those types of numbers and you consider that those horses are on the range year-round. The possible conflict on something like that when you're trying to rehab a fire or you're trying to do a restoration project, the potential for impact definitely goes up. So declining gathers nationally, only 1,863 removed in 2014. In 2015, they did bump it up a little bit, 3,819. In 2016, they do have proposed to remove 3,500. We'll see where that goes, but it's been a downward trend since 2010 when they rounded up over 10,000. Nevada gathers, you know, like I said, 141 in 2014 and just 1,646 in 2015. So what we've got on the books this year that we've heard from BLM on, DOE districts looking to do water trap on Triple B, remove 130 animals. Currently the AML, or the population in there is 1,600, and the AML high side is 518. Southern Nevada district's going to look at trying to remove 40 burros in the Spring Mountain Ranch State Park, just basically roadway safety risk. Blue Wing, you're looking at a situation there where there's 1,733 wild horses and 704 wild burros, and you know, you look at that complex and it's got 555 or 553 for the high AML on horses and 90 for burros. So you compare that to what the population levels are in there. I don't know if anybody's been out there recently, but it's pretty astounding. I have a fair amount of background in that country, and flats are, it's amazing. The other one that's coming up that was, Commissioner Drew referenced is the Carson City Wild Horse Plan. They're looking at pine nuts. They have a 10-year project to try to reduce and bring the animals back down to AML in there. Currently, there's 536 wild horses, and the IMAL is 179.
Commissioner, Mr. Chair, did you say the 10-year plan?
Yeah, yeah. What they're evaluating is a 10-year plan. They're running it through the NEPA process right now to try to provide or give comment.
To remove horses to AML.
Yes.
Mr. Jada, can you kind of, for my information, just tell me the location of the triple B HMA?
That's kind of north west of Ely, south of the Rubies, down in that piece right down in there. Okay. Again, declining adoptions. What you see is the number of adoptions have been falling since 2004, 6,600. Yeah. You're looking at 2,600 in 2015. Since 2000, 1,400 animals in Nevada, ranging from 46 to 124. The issue with BLM is you look at their budget and the holding facilities, those two largest pieces of that pie are off-range pasture holding and off-range corral holding. That's consuming 63% of their $77 million budget. Recently, I believe this year's budget through the Wild Horse and Burro program was $80 million. And it's probably even a higher percentage of their budget. So they're in a very tough place as far as what to do with these horses. They've got growing on-range populations, and their costs to take them off-range are very high. You look at adoptions account for 7%, gathers 2% of their budget.
What is the euthanasia laws on that? Is there any that would prevent it by law from euthanasia?
No, actually, the way the law is written is that they're supposed to manage the population to the appropriate management level. Euthanize those, the way the law is currently written is euthanize those horses that are sick and not capable of being put up for adoption, then go the adoption route, and then euthanize the remaining horses. But the funding is not appropriated for that third step, and it's instead appropriated for the
Yes.
long-term holding.
Yeah.
So the long-term holding gets the money, and they're not taking the horses off the range pursuant to the law that's on the books. And that was the NACO lawsuit, I believe, which was to direct the BLM to follow the law as Congress enacted it, which says you manage these horses to appropriate management levels. At least that's my recollection as to what was.
So is this just an administration? We're not going to follow the law?
No, it's Congress not appropriating the money for the BLM to follow the law, as far as what I think the BLM's agrees on that.
Yeah. Commissioner McNich? Yeah, in my mind, I do have a question, but it's what's happening in my mind, or what I perceive, is that there's so many layers being built onto how to process that, and rather than have the fight on, or having this number of horses on the range appropriate, the wild horse advocates are continuing to build layers in there where you can spend the money, and it's just a tactic to get to where they want to go, which is to leave the horses alone and just let them be wherever they want, wherever they fall. The question that I have is that 2%, I'm hearing NEPA process here. So, Ellen, do you believe that part of the gather money is going towards even that process? It's not even going towards necessarily what your gut tells you. Gathers.
I don't know. I don't know. I could definitely follow up and ask BLM. They've got some larger budget there for program. that might cover the NEPA process. I would have to ask that question, I don't know.
I only throw it out there because that 2% is a really low number, and obviously, and it might even be worse than that.
Yeah.
Sure. Alan, are the states precluded from interjecting their policy, which would say follow the law? Are we prevented from doing it as a state? If the federal government is failing to follow the current law that's been passed? Or is that a question that's too difficult to answer?
Brian Stockton, Attorney General's office, is pretty close. I mean, we can ask them to follow the law, to implement the law as it's written, but really, you know, in any government, you have to decide where you're gonna spend your money and how you're gonna spend your money. And wild horses, as Commissioner McNich said, is a very political issue. BLM did try to do a gather in Pine Nuts a couple of years ago. They didn't have enough money to do a new EIS, so they were trying to rely on an EIS that was 40 years old and pursued by a wild horse advocacy group, and the federal judge shut down the gather in Pine Nuts. And so I assume that's why they're now conducting this new multi-year NEPA process so that they can extend the life of the, because they just don't have the money to do a NEPA every time, you know, a full NEPA every time they gather. That's my assumption. I'm just kind of gathering that. I wasn't actually personally involved in the case, but I was attended one of the hearings.
But a state would be precluded from, even if they raise donations or what have you, in front of their own gathers, they have a euthanasia project. That follow the law as written. You're precluded and prevented from doing that by federal judge in your opinion, or could that attempt be made? Because it's kind of productive to what we're trying to do, presuming to provide wildlife here in the state.
The Wild Persons Rural Management Act, essentially these are federal animals, and the state has no jurisdiction over them. We have the Virginia range of strays, the state does have some jurisdiction over them. That's somewhat limited, but the wild horses are strictly federal, so state not allowed to.
So, again, just to summarize, you look at the declining adoptions, the reluctance to cull, the holding capacity, shortage and cost issues, the declining gathers, that's leading to further increases on the on-range population. The on-range population is leading to competition for resource such as water. We've got a fair number of videos where horses will, set up on a water source and dominate and chase off other wildlife to try to utilize. Caleb, I don't know if he's in here, but Caleb McAdoo, our Area 10 biologist, had a really good video of a spike bull elk taking on a horse, fighting for water, trying to get into a water source.
Is that in Spruce Mountain?
Yeah.
And these pictures were from Spruce Mountain, one before was.
The one before is from Spruce.
Yeah, the one before is from
When we were out
Field
there,
Trivia.
they were kind of keeping an antelope kind of off on the edges.
So, the horses, when you see those numbers such as 1,300 horses, herd sizes get larger, number of herds that are, utilizing one scarce resource on the Nevada landscape like water, can lead to conditions like this. Again, the declining herd health, it's not just that, it's respect for the animal. I mean, when you get populations like this and the competition for the resource goes up during the drought, it's as much about herd health as it is, wildlife populations as well. So, again, the conflicts and management priorities, BLM's in this situation where those black are HMAs and the lighter gray are herd areas, sorry, they're not on there. But that depicts the old map of the sage grouse habitats across the state and how those HMAs overlap with the priority sage-grouse habitats. So the lawsuit, going back to that, that's the NACO lawsuit, counted all excess animals above AML, which right now just, in Nevada would be 20-some thousand animals. Cease long-term warehousing and auction, sell, dispose of animals. The Burns amendment allowed for sale to all buyers. And so, but what they have done is they have taken a tack. They don't sell to market, to meat market. Yeah. So that is allowed, but it's been a policy statement of BLM not to do that. So they were trying to push that as well, and cease interference with water rights as far as and other measures were in that NACO lawsuit. So Miranda said it was just a broad attack on the wild horse policy in the states, and suit lacked specifics needed to order BLM to round up more horses and get rid of the ones. So, and I've got the source if you want to learn more about what her thought was, but they did appeal that decision. I don't know where it stands right now. I think it's still under evaluation.
Is she a Nevada federal judge?
Yes.
She's, Brian Stockton, she's the chief judge of the Nevada district.
Any further questions? Commissioner Mitch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to bring it up as part of my update with the with Waffle, but here is probably a little more appropriate. Arizona is having, we have the market on the wild horses, but Arizona's got the market on the burros, and of course they're all tied to the same system. But it's gotten bad enough in Arizona, and it's all relative. I mean, they've got a few thousand burros, we've got tens of thousands of horses, but it's gotten the attention of the congressional delegation, in particular Senator McCain, and lawsuits aren't going to fix this problem, because you just get tied up, you get hogtied while you're fighting the lawsuits. More and more layers are being challenging. Hey, we need to do NEPA to remove horses down to AML. BLM's being forced into these long-term management plans to take the edge off of these huge removal projects. I'll throw in a real quick experience that I had on this commission before I finish. We were in Vegas, and there had been a wild horse removal to remove horses due to emergency. What they did was they removed, I don't know, some of your cab members might remember this, but they removed, the AML in the area was like 45 horses, and they had over 300 horses, and they had a lack of water, they had a lack of resource issue, and these horses were on the verge of dying, so they removed them. After they removed them, they took the sickest ones, and when things kind of stabilized, they put those herds back on above AML. And we asked, why would you put that herd back out on the range when you're still above AML? And they said, you don't understand. And I think that this is because they've been beat up so much from the horse advocate groups, that we were managing an emergency, not removing horses for AML purposes. And this is how messed up the system is. It's a really messed up system, and BLM has to, they have to live it. And I think, so to get back to McCain's deal, apparently he's made statements that if something's not done very, very soon, then there's going to be an effort at that level, congressional level, to fix the problems legislatively or through Congress. And I think that that's where this has to go. I don't know how else you get to it. I don't. To fix and resolve these issues once and for all. But maybe the timing is getting right to have those conversations and some collaboration with some of our other states and stuff.
What did they, and Waffle, level, or the other commissions in the same mindset?
They don't have the same.
Something like that.
They don't have the same challenges that we do with the wild horses. So, we're talking 67,000 on the range. We have 34,000 of them. The rest are all spread out. If you noticed in New Mexico, there's 2 or 4 herd management areas. Is that what it was? Oregon, you know. So we're talking a lot of these states. They might have a few hundred horses. So they're not seeing the impact. They're not, you know, they see the horses. I can tell you that they feel for us.
Why are they so concentrated in Nevada though? Is it just because of lack of effort on the part of DLM over the years, or is it our habitat, or is it a combination of things that?
Yeah, probably a combination, I would think. Alan might be able to.
Yeah, probably the public land ownership, I mean, that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
87%.
Makes it pretty
Yes.
easy, but
Makes it easy.
97%.
Yeah, I was wondering if anyone's challenged it on private land for taking.
Well,
that
the
property.
Fish and Wildlife Service up on the Sheldon, they're not subject to the wild horse and burro limited restrictions. So they can manage wild horses and burros as they see fit, and they have 0. They've gotten them all off the Sheldon.
It was a 4-year fight though, Dave.
It was
a huge fight.
It was a big fight, and it was but the Fish and Wildlife Service stuck to their plans, stuck to their guns. They got sued, they just kept moving forward, and they did remove them all. Now, you know, that's not going to be the answer to remove them off of the range. You know, that's not practical. But the bottom line is that you know, they did do something about it, and they stuck to it, and they made it happen. BLM's just got their hands tied behind their back. They're hog-tied in every way, shape, and form because of the system they have to manage. And now they're having to do NEPAs to remove horses. I mean, that when you said that, I'd never really thought about it, and that's crazy.
Yeah, that's always been the process, but it's gotten to the point where now, as Bagby or Stockton referenced, is that, you know, if it's not timely process, then they go after it as far as NEPA adequacy. And so they get challenged, and so it's got to be something that they.
It's just to fill in the details, like, because I participated in one of these lawsuits a few years back on behalf of, I think my client was the Northern Coalition, and there's just so many avenues in which litigants can attack the process. So if it's a 2-year-old count or population estimate being used to justify the gather, they attack it on that level. You have to understand too that a lot of these groups get free legal service from firms. I remember our case we had is actually back in Washington, D.C. with East Coast law firms representing the plaintiffs on a pro bono basis. And you're litigating in Washington, D.C. over this, and then it just keeps going step by step with a lot of litigation issues, and it goes back to Congress really needs to look at the law that's on the books and have that law followed and appropriate the money according to the law. My view is Congress needs to follow the law that they've enacted, and they don't do that. So we certainly don't get that excuse if we don't follow the laws that they enact.
Well, they attempted to follow the law there, Park County, boundaries, and remove cattle from, so they're important to that stuff there. That's just because it's not fair to do that type of work either. Look at the mess that's turned into, costing the taxpayers millions and millions of dollars of waste in the criminal justice system. Yet these nuts around the country that believe it and come here to Nevada, 2 of which killed 2 of my Metro police officers. It's a sad thing by not following the law to begin with. They follow it early on, they would have these problems.
I just also comment Lyon County is, as far as I can tell, about in crisis mode. It looks like a horse ranch south of Herman. It's astounding the number of horses that are in that area. And as far as I can tell, some of the solutions have been spending money to put up fences along 95A, Highway 50, and the populations just keep migrating further and further south to where I've seen just north of Robusta. We're going to see in the Mason Valley here before too long. The numbers in Lyon County are just astronomical.
Mr. Chair, yeah, just a statement, because it's pertinent to this item, but I know Pershing County in the past, through their DA's office, has indicated an interest in maybe providing this commission with an update, and I did reach out to the DA's office and didn't get a return call, so I'm assuming the timing probably wasn't right on coming to this meeting and providing an update. But Joe, maybe down the road, you and I can coordinate a little bit if we need to get something on the agenda. Because I know there's some things going on in Virgin County that they had indicated an interest in updating us on.
I was gonna mention on another note, we are saying that the adoption rate is going down, and you mentioned that it could have been at some point due to the economy. But I'm wondering if there's ways that we can work to incentivize the general public throughout the nation for adopting from our state.
Yeah, and the way the BLM handles it is they'll go to holding facilities, and then just because they're in Nevada, that they'll often get shipped other places. So even though they're Nevada horses, I mean, especially when you consider that we've got, 50 to 60% of the population, those horses definitely go other places for adoption as well. So it's not that they just stay here, it's just that when you look at the state that has the highest population number, the interest in our residents acquiring those horses, maybe it's saturation, who knows?
Go ahead. There's one more key that may have played a role there. When the Fish and Wildlife Service was removing animals from the Sheldon, they didn't tie into the exact system, but they largely had those animals adopted out. And the process is significantly less burdensome for them to implement that than it is for the BLM. So, so we have this, we have the Fish and Wildlife Service getting rid of animals and putting them out into the system, and it's basically overriding taking advantage of the adoption opportunities out there that BLM can't take advantage of because it's such a burdensome process for BLM. So that might have been part of the reduction too, I don't know.
Right, I was just thinking, when you have situations like this, if there's some type of financial incentive to get your horse from one place or another, I mean, you can start to direct the general public when they're looking for horses toward adopting, from the wild sources. I don't know.
Any further questions for Mr. Zeman from the commission?
I don't have a question, but I'd just like to add, we talked about horses. Certainly everybody in this room is familiar with some of the challenges, but I think there's some basic differences in the biology that really speak to the concern. This isn't a matter of just having a species that, because it doesn't have antlers and we don't have the management authority, we choose to dislike. When we look at livestock, they have permit conditions, they have seasons of use. When we look at wildlife, we look at what this board does in terms of quotas, and we look at horses, we look at the Great Basin, we look at the fragility of that ecosystem, and what we have is in horses, they just have one huge stomach, they're a volume eater, and we look at the amount of forage and water that it takes to sustain a horse. It's roughly 10 times to sustain the same body mass of a deer or elk, for example. 10 times the forage, 10 times the water. They're much more sedentary, so they sit on these spring sources, they sit on high quality habitat, and then they aggressively and actively defend those to the detriment of wildlife. The ecosystem did not evolve, the species in our ecosystem didn't evolve with a large monogastric fermenter like horses are sitting there. And so there's additional challenges. The biology of the animal speaks to some of those challenges. It isn't just that we don't like horses because we can't hunt them, they don't have big antlers. There's a lot more to it.
Thank you, Director. Thank you to Alan for that presentation. I think anytime this comes up, it becomes a hot topic, and I'm sure we could spend all day on it. We'll move on to